Good morning, everybody. I'm Sam Albrecht. I'm the Director of the Office of Regulatory Oversight. We're here to talk about the new administrative rules. Yesenia is helping me today. She's going to keep an eye on the participants that are coming in or may get kicked out and want to come back in. And I think we are going to also work together to keep an eye on the chat just in case there's any questions. You can also raise your hands. So welcome. This is the update on the new administrative rules that are going to go into effect on January 1st of 2025. Donnie Featherman is under the weather and is not able to participate today, so I will be taking the lead on this. This is the fourth meeting that we've had. We had a meeting for sellers. We had a meeting for installers and inspectors, and then another meeting with manufacturers and third-party agencies. And this one's going to be focusing on participating jurisdictions and the local and any other local governments that want to listen in. Although this says registered sellers, that's not what this one's about. This is going to be about, this is for the participating jurisdictions and local governments. We'll do it, but the basis of the slide deck is the same for all the groups. We'll do welcome and overview of the session, which we're doing right now. We'll go through the agenda. We'll talk very briefly about some ground rules. We'll talk about building codes and standards. We'll take a look at where we are with the current codes, and then we'll talk about the new and updated rules. And then we'll wrap up and we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. As you may have heard, we are recording this and we will post to the website. Also, we cannot change statute. So we align the rules with the statute that is given to us by the legislature. And we cannot change the approved rules at this point in time. Rulemaking process takes a while. We do expect to run another rulemaking next year. So if you have clarification or recommended changes, please let us know about those. And then, of course, we're only addressing Colorado law and Colorado rules. Sometimes we get folks that bring up how it's done in other places and other states, and that's not relevant to this discussion at this point in time, unless it is a recommendation to change statute or change law or change the rules. Our controlling documents and guiding documents is the Colorado Revised Statutes 2432, 3301 through 3329. So if you have not read those, though, it's an exciting read. The last rule change that we did was to get to where we are at current condition was to the tiny home bill, which was HB 22-1242. The new rules are driven by HB 22-1362. And then these new rules also take into account the requirement to go to the 2021 IECC or better. And what we did was we just bumped all the entire code set up to the 2021 code set. So we'll talk a little bit more about details on that. Our approved administrative rules, if you want chapter and verse on those, is 8 CCR 1302-14. And there will be a slide with all the links to the different resources, as well as emails for everybody on the team. Just kind of, most of you folks are very aware of what we do in building codes and standards. We take care of everything that is a factory-built structure that is either built in the state and moved to another location, or is built out of state and comes into the state and is set on in a local jurisdiction. We do the plan review for those. We do factory inspections through third-party agencies, and then we do the a final certification inspection and the installation inspections on those units when they come in. Also, kudos to our administration team that really makes sure that our inspectors get to the right spot and the plans get reviewed in a timely fashion, and also help out with a lot of other very important tasks. It's a lean and mean group. We have uh, 2 folks doing plan reviews. We have 4 people on inspections now running around the state. And we have a couple folks in admin, and we're hoping to get some added across all of those functional fields as soon as we take a look at the financial situation for the organization. There's some things that some of the local governments and some things that you may not be aware of. We also, as of the last rule set, also are responsible for foundations in areas of the state that do not have a building department. So we will do the foundation review and the foundation inspections for those units. And as always, we have had the responsibility, again, in areas of the state that don't have a building department, for hotels, motels, and multifamily units, whether they're factory built construction or whether they are stick built on site. And that's been a responsibility for us. I mentioned the current code set that we're on. We have been on the 2018 ICC codes pretty much except for the IECC, and we were on the 2015 IECC for that code. And then, of course, with the HUD code, we do not have any specific exemptions from the HUD code for manufactured housing. So we make sure that we do not have a HUD factory in the state. So all those units coming out of state are built to the federal HUD code, and they come through as built. We also have a way to change and modify these code sets if you are interested. So here's the big change that we are going to. We're basically updating almost everything. Everything to the 2021 ICC code set. That'll be the IRC, the IBC, and the others. And of course, we still we made no modifications to the HUD code because that's the federal code. We also adopted some other standards to help us with our processes, and that would be the ICC MBI set of codes, the 2021 ICC MBI 1200 for standard for offsite construction, and 1205 standard, and that takes care of the inspection and regulatory compliance part of that, and the 2023 ICC MBI 1210 standard for mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, energy efficiency, and water conservation and offsite construction. We also adopted, because we're starting to see a lot of interest in panel construction, for closed panels, we adopted the 2023 ICC MBI G6 guideline on advanced panelization for buildings. And then, as I mentioned earlier, by statute, we have adopted the Colorado Model Electric Ready and Solar Ready codes. And we can talk about those a little bit if you want to at the end. Now, if our manufacturers, if they have plan sets that have been approved prior to January 1st of 2025, those plan sets are going to be good for 180 days. So we may still see some of those units that are in the construction process come through, but any new plans for submittal will have to be to this code set that come in after January 1st. We still defer and require the manufacturers to adopt, to build to the local design standards. Again, that's wind, snow, design temp. We clarified radon mitigation is also supposed to be checked, as we have done also with sprinkler requirements and wildfire mitigation requirements. Also, ADU separation is getting, we take a look at that also. Now, just to give, now we're going to jump into kind of what the major changes were to the administrative rules. They have been posted to the website. So we've got the current rules up. And then for new rules, we've got a clean copy for you. And then there's a red line copy if you want to peruse through that and see where the red line changes were made. For some folks, that's easier than having to reread the entire document. Rule 1 is definitions. So we added a few definitions. One is for certified. We clarified what a multifamily structure is. We defined no cover and no cover inspections. Those are things that are still going to be done by the locals. And then we defined registered, and then we're starting to see more temporary buildings and temporary use. And so we put those definitions in the new rule set also. Rule 2 is the code sets and the standards section of the document. So just as I mentioned, and be sure and read through those, because we sometimes amend the regular ICC code set specific to factory built structures. So when we say we've adopted the 2021 IRC, it's really the 2021 IRC as amended by the department. So be sure and take a look at those if you have any specific questions. I'll pause and also say that all these rules went through a very laborious process with our technical advisory committee. Our technical advisory committee is made up of 15 volunteers that represent local governments, the manufacturers, plumbing, electrical, architecture, engineering, and tiny homes and energy. So that group meets on a regular basis and comes up with these draft rules. Then they go to the State Housing Board. And then once approved by the State Housing Board, we post them in the Colorado Register. So that's it's not a quick and easy process for us to change a rule. It's at best, it's 4 to 5 months in order to make rule changes. So I just want to let you know the thoughtfulness that went into these rule changes. So again, in Rule 2 is the code set. Some things in there that we made some changes to is it's listed on this slide. I'm not going to go through each one. I'll pick up some highlights. I mentioned radon mitigation and ADU fire separation, so that is clarified in the new rules. And then in Rule 2.2.27, most of the changes that we had for tiny homes were taken out of the new rules, because what we had done is we had borrowed or we modified that 2018 IRC to bring in all the 2021 tiny home appendix Q stuff. So when we so when we changed to the 2021 IRC, we no longer needed to, those were adopted they were already there and had been there for a couple of years. So we did not need, so we struck them from, you'll see a lot of red line deletions in the 2021 IRC appendix Q, but that is because that they're already there in that baseline 2021 IRC. We also tweaked a little language on the plumbing code to be in alignment whenever the state adopts new versions of the IPC. Very similar to what we do with the electrical code. When it is updated, it automatically becomes the required code. Some more stuff in Rule 2. We exclude wall space and space below the island and peninsula countertop as work surfaces to clarify some electrical receptacle outlets that need to be calculated in Rule 2.5.2. The Rule 2.7, we removed some amendments there. As you know, 2021 IECC requires blower door and blower duct testing throughout. Rule 215 through 219 was adoption of those ICC MBI standards that I mentioned, the G6, and the Colorado Model Electric Ready and Solar Ready Code. Rule 3 is our fee table. So we raised installer registration fees a little bit. We revised some words in there. We added revision fees. And we are starting to see a lot of, not a lot, we are starting to see a few as-built structures come across state lines and get set on site without going through the plan review process. We appreciate the local jurisdictions. They're the ones that generally catch this and notify us. Then we contact the manufacturer and we hold our insignias until they get right with the program, or we have to go out and do, we try not to go out and do deconstructive inspections as much as possible, so we'll work with the locals. But we do depend, if you guys see stuff that does not come in with the proper insignias and plan reviews approved by the state, please let us know. We're happy to take the heat, be the bad guys, and tell them that they need to get right with the program before occupancy. Rule 4, most of our rules lean toward the manufacturers and their requirements. So we have, we also are still trying to work with the tiny home program as much as possible to allow, in this most recent rule, we clarified allowing personal use and site built by an individual that may want to build their own tiny homes to the IRC code. So we have some clarification on that. The other one that I want to mention is Rule 4.6 on this slide. That rule, I believe, currently requires or highly recommends a meeting for multifamily projects with the local jurisdiction, the state, the manufacturer, the installer, and the general contractor, the site contractor doing the site work for that. We found these meetings to be extremely useful to make sure everybody is very clear on who's doing what to when whom. We recommend that every local jurisdiction, if you've got a multifamily project, an apartment building, a modular apartment, or a hotel, even a hotel, please let us know, and please let, when they come in for permits, let your GCs know and let your teams know that we recommend that they have a pre-meeting as well as a post-meeting with the project. Once we start getting a few boxes on site, excuse me, once we start getting a box uh, do the first couple installations, we can generally see how the rest of the project's going to go. And if you guys ever feel the need for a meeting with the state or and all those parties I just mentioned, let us know and we'll call that meeting. Just so that we don't get into situations where you're on a tight schedule and your county commissioners are planning a grand opening ceremony and there's still work to be done on the units. We want to work together and try to get those units, get everybody on the same page, um, to make everything go cleanly. Thank you. A couple more changes in Rule 4. We are looking at, we added in Rule 417, 4.1, the option for zones. Some of, one of the, and I'll talk a little bit about the ADU bill in a minute also. But what we are looking at is trying to define regional zones where a manufacturer can have a single plan set that builds to the worst case in all those locations. And in order to not have to have a site specific, address specific um, set of plans. It's a concept being worked out. It was mentioned in the ADU bill. We put this in the current rule structure just to, if we do come up with those zones, to allow that for our manufacturers. A lot of work, and it'll still go through that technical advisory committee that I mentioned. And so everybody will have input on what those might look like. As you know, it gets to be a challenge in Colorado with different elevations, different special wind loads in along the Front Range, and snow loads at a much higher elevation, and then um, it we think it's going to be doable. But again, just stay tuned to our newsletters and we'll keep you informed on that process. But the goal is to, like I mentioned, is to allow a modular manufacturer, and we're just focusing on residential right now, but we could apply to IBC units that are also that want to build a standard stock type product that go in multiple jurisdictions. We also added emergency response units. I think some of you guys know that that went through as a emergency rule, which has a whole nother process to actually take a look at units if there was a local declaration of emergency. What drove this was the city of Denver declaring a city emergency for homelessness, and they wanted units, sleeping structures that didn't quite meet our code and didn't, but they had met their code. So we have that option if there is an emergency, and we see this as a plus if we ever do have to look at some type of sleeping structures that can be manufactured quickly for fire or flood. We also added addition of a certified third-party agency for site oversight inspections. Rule 5 is the seller rule. If you're not familiar with that, we require sellers to be registered and bonded, and we can call that bond in case of non-delivery of a unit. And we clarified now that if they're selling single-family homes, duplexes, or townhouses built to the IBC, not just the IRC, that they still need to register as a seller. Rule 6 is our installer section. We clarified the responsibilities of the installer and inspector when issues come up. We also are trying to combine those installer sections down to be a little more user friendly. So we've combined the installer registration of HUD's mobile homes, and because they have the same requirements as modular and tiny homes. And so that work has been done. And then we added clarification or tiny home installation requirements. As a reminder, if you guys are seeing tiny homes come into your local jurisdiction, please note that we've only had one or two manufacturers register with the program and have plans approved. They are going to go through the program and they will have a state certified tiny home. The state certified tiny homes are built to the IRC. They should be eligible to go any place in your jurisdictions that allow a temporary or a permanent foundation. The installation handbooks that come with those what we recommended was that they have 3 options for installation of a state certified tiny home. They can certainly use it in an RV park with RV hookups, or they can put it on a temporary foundation, very similar to the way that mobile homes and manufactured homes are attached to the ground, or they can go on a permanent foundation. So those installation handbooks will be unit specific. We are only going to do the first installation on those. After that, and they will work with the local jurisdictions if they decide to move, or they can come to the program and ask for another inspection. But we haven't seen anybody do that yet, and we'll work those issues when they come up. Rule 7, if some of you guys remember in the last time we did rulemaking, we were told by the legislature that we would be responsible for foundations in areas of the state that didn't have a building department. So we just tacked it into different sections. Rule 7, we pulled all those tacks out and put them and made it its own chapter in our administrative rules. So, but again, this is for areas of the state that don't have a building department. Here's that resource page I talked about. So the website, the rules are there. Statute, there's a link to how to get to statute. Donnie Featherman is the program manager for building codes and standards. There's a tiny home program email that goes straight to Donnie and myself to answer questions about tiny homes. The factory built and factory built non-residential program email is on there as well as foundation questions. And Yesenia, I think you had another email that you wanted to make people aware of. If you want to stick that into the chat, that'd be great. All right, now some specific information for participating jurisdictions. Again, thank you so much for being in participating jurisdictions with 4 inspectors running around the state. And they keep adding more and more to our plate to do. We could not do this job without you. So thank you very much for being a participating jurisdiction. Please keep in mind that you should only be charging fees for services that you provide, and you're not allowed to provide a fee for services already provided. So you can't do a full building plan review and charge for all of that. You can do for the accessory, you can do the pieces of it, but we will take care of the other of the main structure itself. We also want to remind you that please sign the OC form, the on-site construction form, and accepted inspection responsibilities to complete the unit on site. And then issuing the CO after it's been certified by the Division of Housing would be appreciated. And then accepting third-party approved plans to start site development. There should be, we tell our manufacturers to submit 2 sets of plans, one to us and one to the local jurisdictions. Communication, let us know if you come up with something that's weird, or you get somebody, or if you're new to the role and you don't understand how the manufactured factory built structure program works. We're happy to help you work through that. We do go around the state and provide free training um, on a regular basis. So just request that, and we'll get out to your county. We'll invite all surrounding counties and local jurisdictions if you don't mind hosting it and have the room, and then we'll work through, we'll provide free training. And then any installations you guys are doing, please report those in a timely manner with that correct information. We are in the process of updating our installation manual. Our engineer and plan review team's been through it a time or two. Yesenia has gone through it, I think, also. We're on the third or fourth draft of that. We hope to have that ready for hosting on the website. We'll put a notice in the newsletter as soon as we get that document updated. A little more on how we can all work together, again, is signing that OC form and accepting the inspection responsibility for the on-site stuff. And then becoming a participating jurisdiction. If you're not a participating jurisdiction, please contact Donnie or myself, and we'll get you set up for the installation part of the program. I mentioned this, the CO already, and accepting those third-party approved plans to start site development, and then communication and education. I mentioned that already, and then issuing those fees only for the services that you provide. There are two other bills that I'm sure you're aware of. One is HB 241036. This is the sales and use tax list, and it's recently been updated effective 1/1 of 25. It was updated in the last legislative session that sale, storage, and use of manufactured homes, modular homes, tiny homes, or any factory built closed panel residential structure will be exempt from sales and use tax. I believe manufactured homes were there before, and so they clarified by extending that to modular homes, tiny homes, and factory built panelized structures. And then HB 241152 is the accessory dwelling unit bill. If you haven't been over to the Division of Local Governments in Dora, they have a whole webpage and section on the new ADU bill for the jurisdictions that have opted into that program. If you haven't opted in and are interested in allowing, interested in being a participating jurisdiction in that ADU program, please take a look at that and contact a Division of Local Government, or contact me and I can point you over there to be I think the correct term they're using is the supportive jurisdiction for those ADUs. ADUs, as you know, can be a number of things, and the way I think they've defined it in the bill and define it in local government is that it can be conversion of garage or basement or attic. It can be conversion of an existing structure on the property, say a barn or a detached garage, or it could be modular. That's why the factory built structures and building codes and standards is involved with that. Or it could be a tiny home. So there is the possibility of the ADUs really helping to solve the affordable housing crisis. Not solve it, but to be a piece of the affordable housing solution for the state of Colorado. All right, that's all the formal presentation. I will caveat that I am not a code expert. And so if I'm happy to take questions that I can't answer, and we'll get them to Donnie and get back to you. But I'm going to end my slide deck right now and get back to where I can see everybody's faces. Anybody have any questions for me? or that I can write down for Donnie?
I've got one, Sam.
Okay.
This Ted with Routt County Regional Building. Do you kind of have a list of participating entities? I mean, are there a lot of us or just one or two in the state?
Uh, I'm having a little trouble hearing you. What I think I heard you ask for was a list of participating jurisdictions across the state involved in the modular program.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that we have that on the website, but that is something that we can take a look at adding.
All right.
Yesenia, do you know if we have a list someplace?
Yes, so I will put the link in the chat. There is an account search web portal that we have on our website. It shows a list for participating jurisdictions, installers, inspectors, manufacturers, sellers, and all other registrations that we have.
Thank you, Yesenia. So yes, we do have it, and I should have mentioned that it's an underutilized resource on our webpage, but there is a search engine that searches our database for all those different entities that Yesenia just listed.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be able to look up names of installers. It would
Yep.
be kind of nice. Yeah.
Installers and manufacturers, because you may see something come in from a manufacturer that isn't registered to. We just recently had a foreign modular unit come into the state. Good looking unit, but they were not registered with the state program. So we're having a chat with them.
So you used all European wood values and everything?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Would you have used like your European wood values? I mean, when you say it was coming in out of the country?
That is one option. The other option is is to do a little deconstructive. The other is to do a plan review. The other is to see if they have plans approved by another agency, or and what their factory built inspection process looks like. Because remember, these units all go through the same inspections that you guys do for site built. Everything um, from the rough framing to the rough electrical, rough plumbing, finals, and everything else that is involved in that. So we want to make sure that unit has had all the proper inspections.
Interesting. So you mentioned kind of permanent and temporary sets for your tiny homes, but
Yes, sir.
also my main issue is with manufactured homes. And the HUD manual that I find on the web is Permanent Foundations Guide. Of course, it's been rewritten. It's that 4933G. It's a handbook that revised the Permanent Foundation Guide. And I'm thinking that's got some setups that would parallel the temporary. Is that your understanding, or is there another place where you go for the
It's another document we're taking a look at right now, and I think that helped drive some of the changes to our installation handbook also. But so, like I said, we haven't seen any come through yet. We haven't seen a installation handbook yet. If we'll just have to work through those when they come. I'm afraid. I will caveat that just to let you know, if they that most of the tiny home looking structures right now are being built to RV standards. RVIA or ANSI 119.5, I think, is the standard on those RV. Those are temporary use only, and they should not be getting and they won't have a state insignia on them, because we're requiring building to the IRC.
Yeah, we're seeing them with the note that they're just for temporary living.
Yep.
And, I mean, if you go to the RV, the NFPA or whatever the certification is for RVs, it's, really got to be almost like a licensed vehicle a person could take down and move in one day.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing those, but they're getting around us. We aren't involved in them, but boy, they look like a temporary set, you know.
Exactly. Well, I'm not sure I answered your question 100%,
Yeah.
but just let me know if you want to get me and Donnie on the phone on that.
All right. Appreciate it.
You bet. Any other questions? Well, it's a quiet group. Too much eggnog this morning, guys? I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you very much for coming.